Primary ignition.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Historian Kinji here. Played Cad Bane on the Book of Boba Fett on Star Wars Disney Plus. You're watching the Virtual Cantina Network. Have fun.
Hey, Rebels.
Hi, everyone.
Look who we found.
I'm back.
Wait, hold
I
on.
made it. I survived.
Happy
Um,
Ahsoka Day!
Happy Ahsoka Day, everyone.
Thanks, John.
What I had I planned better, we would have done maybe an Ahsoka specific episode. Um,
It's all good. Hi,
but
Jen.
yeah, the calendar escaped me. I see that we're live on Instagram. This is new.
Right? Hi, Sarah. Happy Ahsoka Day. It's a trip. So if you are on Instagram, spread the word.
hmm I'm gonna open my Instagram just so it's live, so I can
Yeah.
see it.
Hi,
So if you see me
Sherry.
looking down like this, that's where the Instagram is.
The
I have
gram.
too many. I have like 9 screens over here. It's
Hi,
basically like
Lola.
base control.
Happy
Hi,
Ahsoka
everyone.
Day. Yeah, it's a new thing. We're trying it out for the first time today, so it's kind of a big deal.
hmm
But I know my friend Paul Sun Hyung Lee, he was live streaming last night, and it was on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, so it's possible.
We got all your channels covered.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, we're live on Facebook as always.
nice.
We're live on YouTube, and now we're live on Instagram. We'll be on TikTok soon enough, I'm sure. Um, but yeah,
You just
this
don't
is
have to
great
get it
because everyone's got their own sort of preferred social media channel, and
right.
I've been told by numerous people that even though they love the VCN and the Star Wars Celebration group, they just don't do Facebook anymore. And some people have held on to their Facebook just for the sole purpose of being in the group, and then other people just had to get rid of Facebook for various other reasons. But um, being on Instagram allows you to connect, and now we've got this capability where
Right.
it's
Hi,
more than
Lori.
just seeing the post. You can actually engage
Hi,
with everyone,
Liberty.
which is nice.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah,
So we've had a pretty busy week while you've been gone, Mark.
yeah. I missed everything. Um,
Yeah.
so for everyone, so first of all, thank you to you and Skip for filling in. You guys did a
Oh,
great
you're
job.
welcome.
You guys
It's a
watched an
solstice
awesome
skip.
episode. I
So
s-
we had
Yes,
skip all the time.
I saw it was all Skip everywhere, all Skip at once last week with him popping around to the various shows. He's becoming our like utility player on the team to sort of
Right.
pop in because he's got good
Serpenter.
general Star Wars knowledge and he loves
Absolutely.
Rebels. And he's a good little host too. And everyone knows him. He's actually like we were talking about this very recently that like there's some faces in the fandom that people just kind of know, and Skip is
Yeah.
one of them. He's also just a really good guy. So yeah, Solstice of Skip. Can't even say it. Um, so yeah, I was in Vegas. I was there for a work event, which
How'd that
went
go?
really well.
Yeah.
It was busy, busy. You might have seen a couple of pictures from our booth because it was an industry event. It was not a convention. So we could share a little bit on social media, but a lot of confidential stuff. We actually had some buying, like some selling. Like we were literally writing orders at the show. But it was 5 days. You build the booth, you hawk your wares, you pack your stuff, and you go. And then it's back to the day to day grind. But it was a really good event. The
Good.
Halloween industry is I think doing well as an industry. People seem to love Halloween just as much as ever,
I
and
have
we've got
plenty of
some
friends
awesome
who are like,
licenses.
can we just skip Valentine's Day and have it be like winter Halloween, please?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
okay.
Um, I would love for us to celebrate like halfway to Halloween and whatever else.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we
um,
could. There's
yeah,
nothing stopping us really. So
yeah, I dress up all year,
do it.
and we're looking at
That's
stuff like
sweet.
that too. So yeah, so that was really good. And I missed Daughters of the Galaxy too, so I had to watch that. But yeah, I know the Mortis daughter, which is a good topic and sort of right
Yeah.
on for the theme.
So
Um,
fun. It was a fun
Freaky
episode.
Force stuff. So
Y'all.
y'all, that's what does it is the y'all.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so we don't have as much freaky stuff this week on Rebels, but we are gonna cover a pretty comprehensive season of nonsense in Star Wars Rebels, including some weird Force stuff. The temple is a little weird.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed.
but yeah, we wanted to basically summarize season one for everyone. I remember as Ahsoka was coming out, some of the other fan sites were doing like, here's a recap of Rebels season one, Rebels season two, as you make your way through, and those all happened in the lead up to Ahsoka. We were doing our specific Ahsoka countdowns.
Right.
But yeah, I think we need like on this channel as the hub
Right.
of all things Rebels, like a good summary of everything that happened in season one and what you can glean out of each episode. That was sort
Right.
of how we handled it. So we're gonna go through that list in a little bit. But Ashley, what did you get up to last week while I was away in the fabulous desert of Nevada?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, Sarah. I got this shirt at Celebration 2019 in Chicago, so I was really stoked I was able to get it. So yeah, twinsies. Um, it's been a little chaotic at work and at home. Just trying to catch up with um, commissions and catching up
Hmm.
with latest Star Wars news. So we didn't get to talk about this,
Hmm.
but Bad Batch season 3,
Yes,
surprise, surprise. Your
surprise is the word.
your
Yeah,
your
I was shocked.
comment, you were like, "Girl,"
Yeah,
I was like, "Yes." Oh, it was so
I
good.
and they did it all at once. Usually there's a poster, then there's a trailer, then there's an episode list. They were like, just do it all. They were
Yeah,
like, give them
big
everything at
mango
once. Yeah,
done.
anticipate the questions. It starts in February and it runs basically through May the 4th. I think it's like May
Yeah.
the 1st that it actually ends.
Yes.
Um, so which is good timing because the Bad Batch is a longer quantity of episodes. Longer season
Yeah.
with higher quantity of episodes.
It's
You
15
know,
episodes in season 3, so that's
yeah.
pretty chock full. And from what I can see, it doesn't appear to be any filler episodes, at least from the
Hmm.
titles that I've seen being thrown around. Like they all seem like they're pretty cohesive to the
Yeah,
story arcs. So,
pretty important.
oh, Mike says he was rocking his Montrails
Oh, very
today,
nice.
so that's awesome. You guys looked amazing, Mike and Jeff last night. It was so cool. They went to the Ahsoka Discord meetup, and I know
Mhm.
Jamie did the one in Orlando the night
I was gonna say I
before.
saw a lot of photos of that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Poor Ashley and David. They were just like exhausted,
I'm sure.
but
Look, Ahsoka Day's become like a national holiday for Star Wars fans.
definitely, it's
Not
like
quite
May
as
the
big as
4th.
May the 4th, but like it's certainly the silver medal event, I
It's
think, on the
under
calendar.
May the 4th.
Mhm.
It's above Life Day,
I agree with that. Yeah.
and I think it's kind of on par with Celebration.
As celebration is definitely, I mean, that's a big one, but and it's less frequent.
Yeah.
We're actually now that we're going to be a little more than a year out. People are already asking when are there going to be announcements, and I was like, "Girl, Bad Batch comes on next month, and we just got the announcement a week ago."
Yeah.
It's like they're going to tell you, you know, the show's in when celebration April of 2025. You're going to start finding out stuff in February of 2025. Prepare
Yeah.
yourself. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. But coming back to
Maybe
Bad Batch.
possibly a little sooner, but yeah, just so they can get people there. But
Yeah,
Mike says there was over 1,000 of the Discord and the Ahsoka fans at
that's
the
amazing.
Falcon last night, so that's huge. I know Mike. Sorry, I saw Mike in his photos and stuff, and Jeff went live,
Hmm.
so a few times. So it looks so cool. Um, but yeah, Bad Batch. It's the trailer. The trailer.
It was
I
good.
it's
It
so
was,
good, and I know it was a topic of contention on those that have watched Asajj and have read Dark
yeah.
Disciple.
That's the one point of contention. I
Yeah.
think everything else
Everything
is,
else is just like, "Oh, can't wait." There's
yeah.
like, "How?"
Well,
She's
sure.
she's
Um,
on Dathomir.
yes.
Dead.
Well, yeah. Uh, All right, I see two questions we have to address real quick. Then we're going to
Yes.
come back to Bad Batch. So, Sherry, I believe it was actually yesterday, January 28th, was when Ahsoka was first revealed or premiered in the Clone Wars. That's what makes it the movie.
16 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what makes it Ahsoka Tano Day. So it's really like Clone Wars the movie day, but it's been sort of co-opted into, in a good way, Ahsoka Tano Day, which, the celebrations get bigger and bigger, and anything around Ashley Eckstein also, whatever she touches turns to gold, and
She has
she
her
really
own
like,
Ahsoka clothing line
yeah,
release. It looks so cool. Oh yeah, today's the
yeah.
day.
Oh, was it
Thanksgiving.
today? I thought it was yesterday.
Yeah.
See, I'm all
She celebrated on the weekend.
discombobulated.
So
That must have been really what it
yeah.
was. We should have done something Ahsoka related today, and I always forget because I always think like Ahsoka Lives Day is the one I think of,
Yeah.
not actually the January day, because we also have Ahsoka Lives Day, which was Fire Across the Galaxy premiering in Rebels when we find out that Ahsoka is alive, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So
Hmm.
as we get into season 1 over here of Star Wars Rebels. But all right, so let's talk season 3. Oh, and then the other question about Skeleton Crew. Apparently, this is a show that will be happening. That's all I got. Um, so this is what they keep telling me. There's nothing new publicly. I don't know what's going on there,
Yeah.
but like
It's a
if we now
show.
have if we have a launch date for Bad Batch, and I didn't think we were getting it,
Yeah.
and
Out of
like,
nowhere.
is Acolyte still happening this year? Maybe. Is Skeleton Crew happening ever? Sure, if you tell me so. Like I think we're still in that kind of bucket. You have to wait for Disney to officially announce and reveal stuff. Is my thing, because we've all known Bad Batch is coming, and then they told us basically a month before it's going to premiere. Not even like that's really tight, and I think part of that is the strike. Like part of that is they're still reacting to what is going on this year and
Yeah.
trying to catch up. I heard that Captain America is going back into reshoots, and the reshoots are 3 months long. That's not a reshoot. That's a whole new movie.
That's
So
yeah,
my
filming.
question now is everyone rejiggering what they were
I need
doing?
them, Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's crazy. Um, but yeah, like from what I've seen in promo art, like they've changed his costume completely.
Hmm.
So it's no longer that weird like
No white. It's not white anymore.
neck
Yeah.
beard. It's like yeah.
It's going to be blue again, which I think makes sense. I think at one point he had red wings, and now it's still blue on blue.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is
which
cool.
fine. And look, as long as he has the wings, because I think that's what makes his character unique. I don't care about the color scheme. There should be red, there should be white, there should be blue. Sam's version should have wings. I understand why they want to show his natural hair, but I also think that like he's not super powered and he needs a helmet. And I like goggles for him. So from a practicality perspective, wings,
Oh
a
yeah, the
helmet, and
goggles were
goggles.
there.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
as long as
they
we
have
have
to give him
that,
a full helmet.
and he gets 1 star, the same way that everyone else had 1 star. Like I
Right.
don't, we're not putting 50 stars on there. We're not doing anything without a star. I think like those core components and those core colors and the shades can be different. I mean, Chris Evans's costume got darker as things went on, and it was
Yeah.
almost like a midnight blue by the end of Endgame or whatever. Like I don't care what Pantones they choose for him, like on the
Yeah.
costume. I was like, whatever looks best, and if you want to differentiate it from something that Chris Evans wore, make it a blue we haven't used before. But like, I have very little to say about the costume other than what I think are the most basic things, like that I just mentioned. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But we'll see.
But
Either
it looks
way,
cool.
I think the question is the story right, and
That's all I
do
care about.
they? Yeah, and if it does need to be revised or whatever, I'd rather them spend the time to do that. Um, and get it right.
A good mic.
Because right now, I think all the discussion is around Deadpool, and they did just release like a 1 sentence summary of like what that movie is supposed to be,
And I
and
ignored it
it's
because I
yeah.
I purposely was like, nope, keep scrolling.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
want to know.
I won't mention it here then.
No, no, no. You
But
can. But
no, no,
it's
no, it's
fine.
fine. And for anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled, it's a 1 sentence, snarky sort of. I wouldn't
Ryan
even call it a
Reynolds.
summary. It's like, here's what the movie is going to be about, and it's actually phrased in the form of a question. So you know, but I do think all eyes are on Deadpool.
Yeah,
Like that's the
I
thing that
saw the
people are looking
trailer,
most forward to.
not the trailer, but the video of a huge jacked man getting buzzed up, uh,
Ah,
de-Wolverined, as you can see. So that
yeah,
was
cutting the chops.
that's
At
pretty
that point, it's
sad.
over. Like, if you
Yeah.
shave like that, he also said something about his diet and eating fish every day, steamed fish and vegetables for like 6 straight months. I was like,
Exercising.
forget it. I'd
Yeah.
rather be fat. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna
I
enjoy
mean, if
myself.
someone's gonna pay you a few $1,000,000, hey,
Yeah. That's the thing. If you hire me the personal trainer and you pay me
yeah,
the money and you force me to do the exercise as part of my thing, I'd probably do it.
yeah,
Probably.
for a few mil,
Um, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. It just seems so
Yeah,
exhausting. Like, just I don't understand how anyone has the stamina for it. So
yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's a lot of the pop culture news. But Bad Batch, I
Um,
thought actually broke through in a big way, at least
yeah,
in my
totally.
network. And I know I'm really tuned into Star Wars, but it seemed like it got a lot of press coverage, mostly
Oh, yeah,
positive stuff. I think people are really eager to see, how things shake out with the cloning, in particular with Omega, um, with uh, with Hunter and the rest of the crew.
yeah.
Is Tech alive? I hope not. Can Crosshair have a redemption? Will Crosshair save Omega and sacrifice himself? I feel like that would be a good way to go
It
out.
looked like it
So
was because she passes him in the hallway, and he's just kinda looking down. So,
yeah,
I was telling Jamie this, like, they connected on actually, I think I was telling Skip that. They connected on an emotional level when they were
mhm,
both, like, stuck together,
yeah,
and, you know, ultimately, like, he cut her some slack, when they were on Camino when Camino was sinking. So,
that
I
makes
don't know.
sense.
I
I'm
think
curious to see how it's going to end. What do they consider to be the end of the story? And going back to what you were saying earlier, how do you pull in someone like Asajj, where we know we have the book Dark Disciple, which I read not quite when it first came out, but a few years later, so
mhm,
still a little while ago. Um, and you just have to look at the timing. Apparently, the thing that came out the next day was like, we're gonna honor the events of the book. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember exactly what they said. So it
okay.
doesn't sound like it's necessarily decanonizing it, but it may expand on the story. And we know the
Yeah,
order of operations: movies, then TV, then books, whatever. So if something happens in TV, it overrides what happened in the book. We saw that with Tales of the Jedi and the
yep.
Ahsoka book. Um, you know, I hope they stay as close as possible. Um, we also don't know if they may just put some of the Dark Disciple into animation form,
That would
right?
be amazing.
Like,
It was
I would
supposed
love
to
that.
be part of it,
I know.
so
Look, the Darth Maul Son of Dathomir comic was supposed to be a whole arc in the Clone Wars.
yep,
Like, build that, and I was actually screaming for that exact kind of stuff, like the Boba Fett versus Cad Bane thing that never happened from what was it, the animatics that they
yep,
did for the final season of Clone Wars that didn't make it into Clone Wars season 7. Like, I would love to see that kind of stuff. Like, pull it into Bad Batch, just figure out a way to weave it in where it makes sense.
absolutely. And I think they'll be smart with it because, um, the I'm trying to think. There's a problem with forgetting the source material and kind of forgetting where it came from, especially
Yeah,
this book wasn't, just like a side story for Asajj, like, it was her and Quinlan. They were the
yeah.
main characters. So to have her be part of something else that's she's technically like a side character for, I
Mhm.
feel like it kinda cheapens things. So I'm hoping it opens the possibility of having, like, maybe a Dark Disciple miniseries. That'd
Yeah,
be
I
amazing.
would love for it to be an arc, almost like we used to have arcs in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And yet, what's funny is I bet you everyone at Lucasfilm was like, "We love the character of Asajj. We want to make sure we do something with her before we close out our Clone Wars
So,
show." Because she
Liberty,
has
it
some,
takes
you know,
place, before Order 66. So, just before Order 66. Um, so it's before these events. So she's
mhm,
technically supposed to be dead,
yeah.
like, during this time. So
And Obi-Wan Kenobi
that's
knows
her.
that. Yeah. Not that we plan on seeing Obi-Wan
Yeah.
in this show, but like Obi-Wan knows that.
Yeah.
And look, they could be flashbacks.
Yeah,
They could be
Lonnie.
anything. You know. And I
Yeah,
agree.
John.
I think everyone in
Entirely
the
possible.
comments, I like that everyone is blowing up over this because I do think there's potentially a concern. I think there's also the potential that you can get like a lot of the same story from Dark Disciple, just either slightly altered in terms of timing, or it's a flashback, or we take some threads from it. There's
Yeah.
any number of things, right? But I think that the reason they're bringing her back is that they know that people love Asajj Ventress and have
Yes.
wanted like closure for her. And there are a lot of fans out there who will say that closure in a book doesn't count. Like it just doesn't, regardless of how good the book is. Like it needs to
Yeah.
happen in a movie or a TV show.
So Lori
Um,
brings up a good point. I mean, she is from a planet of witches,
yeah,
so yeah, that's
yeah.
entirely possible. She was
I
buried on
wouldn't,
Dathomir. They
I
gave
wouldn't mind
her
her being resurrected. That'd be fine.
yeah, they
Yeah,
gave her a Night Sister funeral on
yeah,
Dathomir.
yeah.
So maybe.
And rightfully so. She was one of the best Night Sisters. In fact,
Yes, that too, Mike.
as I think as we mentioned in our New Year's Day special, there will eventually be a Clone Wars Revisited show. And we were
Yeah.
mapping out, Ashley and I will be hosting. We will also have a third host, which is very exciting. And as I was building out like the huge list of things, Finch, this is Marek, you need to stop.
Nar.
Um,
Nar.
as we're building out like the huge list of episodes, all 7 seasons, it's like 150 episodes or whatever. Um, the ones with Ventress and in particular the Night Sisters episodes, that whole arc are among
Yeah,
our favorites, and I think those would
absolutely.
be ones where like we would go crazy on those episodes. We still don't know if we're gonna. I feel like we're gonna cover, um, uh, you know, chronological order, production order. We're still figuring that out.
Yeah, we're working out the bells and the whistles
Yeah,
a little
we're
bit.
working on a
So
lot of things, including who our third host might be. Liberty, I love your idea. And yeah, everyone in the comments, tell us who you'd like us to be on screen with us. If you have thoughts about that, or send us
yeah,
a message. We're all big Clone Wars fans over here, the same way we are Rebels fans. And Lonnie, I
animation is
do.
life.
Yeah, agreed. And Lonnie, I do think it could be a flashback to the Clone Wars era potentially. Yeah, there'll be a hashtag Ventress lives, like the same way Ahsoka lives.
Put
Um,
it on a shirt. Oh
so
wait, it is on a shirt.
yeah, I think somehow Ventress returned. Obviously, uh, yeah, it could be a lot of fun. So look,
Yeah, there it is.
yeah, Max Rebo returned. That one's good too.
I love
Somehow.
that she's wearing that and it coincides with her shoulder pauldron. It's great. But as soon
Oh
as
my
she
God,
lit up
that's
that
great.
yellow lightsaber, I'm like, oh, wait a
Because that would be
minute.
Quinlan's, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
she had one and Quinlan had one.
yeah,
So oh,
yeah. I
stressing
love
me
that.
out. I'm telling you.
I'm not stressed about it, and I'll tell you this. One, it's out of our control.
That
And
is true.
two, I think that it's coming so soon. We're going to be in the full-on discourse about it. And by the way, the channel will be covering um, Bad Batch on the Thursday night watch-alongs,
Mhm.
starting in week 2, because our Ahsoka revisited watch-along is currently airing every Thursday. So, and that runs through February 15th or whatever that Thursday is. So the following week or the week after, we'll start up with the first 3 episodes of Bad Batch and then get back on track.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will be doing Thursday night watch-alongs on the Bad Batch, which we didn't do last time because I think Obi-Wan was airing at the same time. There was
Yeah,
some
there was
type
a
of
lot.
or
Yeah.
Andor. It was Mando was airing. Mando season 3. See, I can't even keep track. Something was overlapping with it, and I actually thought it was a real detriment to everything. So
Yeah.
we will be doing Bad Batch watch-alongs on Thursday nights. So that'll be really fun.
Lonnie, I've been awkward since birth. So in case you haven't noticed that has not changed the older I
This is
got.
where we both come alive. I'm not exactly charismatic outside of this very particular box that I'm in.
We just
Um,
goofs. That's
so
all.
yeah, we're very silly. I was good at the industry event. I got good feedback on that. But that's again because it's pop culture shit. So
Yeah.
I
You
was
go
like,
with
don't try
what
to
you
talk to me
know.
about something real. Um, but yeah, but look, a lot of awesome stuff happening right now in pop culture, in Star Wars. Um, on the channel,
So
which is very
Lori has a
exciting.
good point. If you have Dee Baker as the host, that's really like 20 people.
Yeah, there we go.
And
We
a
need to,
sky bison and a flying lemur.
and
Just
yeah, and a platypus.
and a platypus.
Yep.
Hey
Um,
there, platypus. No.
I'm looking at the time, and I can't
Also
believe we do
huge.
this every episode. It's like, oh my God, we're gonna go hours and hours because we haven't even started talking Rebels yet.
Yeah.
Let's dive in
Ooh.
to. Oh, did we lose Ashley? Did I
Yeah.
did I boot her from the channel? What happened? Where'd we go?
Ah, no, I'm still here.
There
I
we
don't know
go.
what
Hi.
happened.
I was doing some creative button clicking all of a sudden. I don't know why.
No worries.
It's all
Out of the
good.
blue.
I'm
Um,
here.
Look, nothing can compare to like the audio malfunction of like Daughters of the Galaxy a month ago when I was trying to when I had to unplug my headphone and it
Oh,
just like
Oh,
messed up everything. That was terrible. And there I am on my phone like trying to play. Oh, it's awful. Um, okay, so let's talk Rebels season one, which is the reason for us meeting
what?
up here today. Uh, as I think about Rebels season one. It is a short season. Funny enough, we were saying it's short. It's 15 episodes. Bad Batch is now 15, and it's considered long. This is how much has changed in television in the time frame.
At least I had a
And
killer beard.
yeah,
Just saying.
and and season one was something of like a slow burn. Um, and I love what Sarah's saying over here about how it like has a special place in her heart because of her kids, right? And
Aw.
that's who it's really made for. I was a brand new licensee, and so I sort of felt like a kid in that space as well, where I'm
Yeah.
like new to it and everything. And so for me, it was the first thing I actually worked on as a licensee. And I started watching before I joined the job at Tops in November of 2014. But it became like the thing that was on right as we got ready for episode 7, for Force
Yeah.
Awake, what would become Force Awakens. And so it also means like the world to me, like it's my starting point in working on Star Wars. um and yeah, I just loved everything about it, and I felt like it kept getting better. And as I was writing out the season one, like the episode list, it you can see the progression as we go, getting more serious, getting a little more adult, getting more connected to the events of A New Hope, um, you know, tying to a bigger universe.
Right.
It just it's it's a great entry point. Um, and it introduces the world, the characters, the conflict really well, and then continues to build on it.
Absolutely. It grows with its audience.
Hmm.
So I know a lot of kids were as young as like 6, and as Sarah's kids were 15 and 13. Um, I was going through I just finished going through like a horrible time in my life. Um, and it was a year later, and it kind of helped me get through that and some more tough times in my life. So it just when it ended, I was in like a completely different place from where it started, and it was just like it was jarring for me. But it was always there. Like no matter what time they threw it on, I would DVR it and just watch it.
Mm.
So um,
You bring up a good little
yeah,
regardless of what time they put it on. First of all, Friday evenings on Disney XD, what are we doing here? It should have
yeah,
been Friday afternoons at like 3:30 for the kids, right? Or Saturday
right.
morning.
It was always like
They
Fridays at like 8 p.m. and then
Yeah.
I think it went through a brief period of time where it moved to Saturdays. And it was like so,
I
Disney did
remember the
this with
Friday nights.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did that with Tron Legacy, where Tron Uprising, where they would have it set at this time, so I'd set my DVR to that time, and then it completely switch it out and have it on at 5:30 in the morning, like, brand new episodes, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm missing, like, so many on this DVR, what happened?" But that's what they do when they try to kill things.
Yeah. Well, that and I think they didn't know they thought they were going to have a gigantic Saturday morning cartoon style audience, but
Yeah,
Disney XD was not Disney. It should have been on the Disney mainline channel, or
yeah.
it should have been on like ABC
Yes, Mike.
or Saturday morning cartoons. And
Yeah,
you know they didn't do a great job building the runway, unfortunately. I think this was one of the like the Jedi um Young Jedi Adventures is building a runway, and I think is doing really well on Disney XD.
yeah,
The runway they tried to build with Rebels in season one did not take. But instead, there were a bunch of fans our age who were keeping up with it, but it was like too young for us, but like too Star Warsy and adult for like little kids to care. Like
it was
it
very
felt like right in the middle.
yeah. It was very similar to the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, it hooked the kids,
Mhm.
but it had some things that adults really liked about it too, and then it just kept growing and growing with the audience.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to season 4, woo-wee.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's fully meant for adults. Sherry, I'm so glad you mentioned
Yeah.
Firefly, because I think Firefly suffered from the same thing where they didn't get the network support in the right way, and they actually showed episodes out of order, and they didn't show
Yeah.
every episode. And I still love Firefly. And again, I have to give the disclaimer: we no longer kneel at the altar of Whedon. We know that he's a problem. When this show first started, though, this is pre-allegations of Whedon's problems. I used to say all the time that the show felt like Firefly. being
Yeah.
set on the ship, and the ship is sort of their house, and they would go on adventures, and they have this little crew that's a found family, which is my favorite theme of the whole season. It's like it's sort of
Yeah.
finding yourself and finding your tribe, finding your family. Um, and it works really well just as a premise, and then you overlay it with Star Wars, and it makes it that much more interesting.
Oh, yeah,
Kitty over
definitely.
here. The kitty is just off screen. I know.
Oh,
Who's
wait,
a good
no,
boy?
mine just ran out there. She heard her name a few times and decided to to come in and be like, "What, you called?" Um,
Oh, he gets camera shy. He has
aw,
to sit right there and be good.
Pixie!
Yeah.
He's so
He's
cute.
being good though. But yeah, so season one I think delivers on all of those things that would make kids interesting. The animation is cute. The adventures are interesting but not too scary. Um, I think some of the like the more obvious themes of like self-discovery and learning and growing, along with the found family stuff, resonates, but even for adults. So like it works on those levels, and it
Yeah.
connects to larger Star Wars universe stuff. So. Um, look, it's a solid season. It's not my favorite season for sure, and in
No,
fact, if
but
we
it's
were
a
gonna
great
rank the
start.
seasons, I would probably make it number 4. But,
And you
like,
honestly,
you
and
know
it pulls you in, like us older fans, it pulled us in
Mhm,
with so many OT characters like R2 and 3PO, of course.
mhm.
Leia, Lando, trying to think who else. Oh my god.
Well, Lando's the big one. Wait,
Yeah.
I think Leia pops in season 2, right? Like, that's,
Oh yeah, that's season 2,
yeah.
but I'm just
Right.
getting ahead
Yeah,
of
they
myself. But
They do give us quite a bit of legacy characters to work off of.
yeah.
Um, all right, let's go through the episode sort of one by one, because what I would love for everyone to get as we think about the totality of season one is there's something to be gleaned in each episode. So we were sort of going through the list and pulling together like what are the big moments, what are the reason for each episode, what do you remember most about it? And starting with Spark of Rebellion, this is really it's a two-parter, first of all. So depending on the list you read, it's either episode one or episodes 1 and 2. It's kind of a mini movie. It's the pilot, so it sets up like the whole show. We learn who the crew of the Ghost is. Is comprised of Kanan, who's a sort of former Jedi Padawan, now he's an adult. Hera, who's our awesome pilot. Zeb, who's like the muscle of the crew. Sabine, the Mandalorian weapons expert, and then Ashley's favorite character in the whole series, Chopper.
Chopper.
Um, yeah, it's a good little crew to start with, and
Yeah.
they're on a planet called Lothal, which is in the Outer Rim. I love an Outer Rim story because it gives you some distance from like the main bureaucracy of the Empire, and it makes it a
Yeah.
little more Wild West. That's why it's a Western, right? We're on like the edge of the galaxy. There
Sarah,
isn't
that's
a
one of my
lot of like,
favorite lines in this whole, like, episode.
yeah. Oh, that moment at the end when
So good.
When Kanan reveals himself, like, as a Jedi, and Callus is there, and he's the one who tells the stormtroopers to focus their fire on the Jedi. Like, that's huge. There weren't
Yeah.
Jedi just roaming around, really. The Inquisitorius made sure of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, Ezra has force powers. He runs into this crew. They're
He's like
stealing
Space
supplies. He's
Aladdin.
stealing supplies. Yeah, oh my god, he's so Space Aladdin. Like, the opening of him running through the streets of Lothal is, like,
Yes.
so
Off
Agrabah,
Gallus.
like, yeah.
Riff Raff, Street Rat.
Um,
And they even call what do they call him? Didn't they call him like a street rat or
it's
something?
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Or
Um,
Lothrat, that's what they called him.
Lothrat, oh boy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so he's from Lothal, but the rest of the crew is not. And then they're on Lothal, and, the Force wills it sometimes, right? They bring you to that location, and then you cross paths. Um and Ezra joins up with the crew, leaves in space for the first time ever, finds out what it means to care about a cause not just for himself, because he's been on his own since he's a little kid. We just know that he doesn't have
Yeah.
parents, and that mystery is like revealed to us over time as to like why he's an orphan, what's happening on Lothal, what he can do to help. And by the end of the two-part episode, they're rescuing the Wookiees from being enslaved by the Empire.
So he
So
he learns
you
a
know
huge lesson. Like instead of just stealing to survive, he's stealing to help other people, and it
yeah.
starts with the Wookiees.
Yeah, so
So,
already right in the premiere, we get a lot of good character growth out of Ezra, which is
and the
great because then it sets up the whole premise of the show, right?
yeah.
Where he's the audience surrogate, we're the little kids or the big grown up kids, watching him learn about the Force, and what it means to be part of this crew, and we're gonna unravel some mysteries. Now, if you remember in the original the original airing didn't have this, but on subsequent re-airings, they added a little stinger to the beginning where they show the Grand Inquisitor talking to Darth Vader, saying that the big threat right now in the galaxy is the children of the Force. And so it tells you right away that like the Empire thinks that Ezra in particular is a threat to them. And we know that the Inquisitors are chasing down Jedi, and we see that really come uh, like in a big way into fruition in not just season one, but in season two, when the two
Yeah.
Inquisitors are chasing down like literal children, right? Like it's kind of crazy. So, but they view the cat is like on me. Um,
Pixie!
they view the potential Jedi like they don't want the Jedi to repopulate.
Definitely. And if they do, they want them on their side. So
Yeah, gotta make
it's
them Inquisitors.
pretty
What do you think,
crazy.
baby boy? You would be an Inquisitor because you're so evil.
Oh, poor
At least
Hixie.
quickly, wait. Put this
Yeah.
down. Can we
He's
see the kitty?
he's so beautiful. Hi, Hixie.
There we go. We'll make him the star. We'll
Yeah.
just leave him right there with his big eyes. So, hi.
He's like, I'm getting petted. Leave me alone.
Yep. So that's
um
so the obviously the premiere is a must watch.
yeah, it begins everything. And not only do you get that shot of Ezra on the tower, thinking about stuff, that is repeated at the end of the series, and also in Ahsoka. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an iconic scene. Um, so episode 2, Droids in Distress. Episode 3, technically. Droids in Distress. So as I was saying earlier, yeah, there's the third host. um, it's bringing in OT people, R2 and 3PO, but we also introduced Minister Tua.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Minister in over her head Tua.
All right.
Girl's a hot mess.
Unpopular opinion. She deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I didn't feel bad for her at all. It's like, this is what you
Yeah.
get for your power trip, queen.
I do
Sorry.
think it's the sociopath test for people to be like, "Did you think that Minister Tua deserved to die?" And I'm like, "Yes." I don't even like hesitate. So, and they're like, "No, she didn't really." Like some people are like hem and haw over it, and I was like,
Well, yeah,
"Absolutely
because
not."
it's the whole redemption arc in Star Wars thing. Like,
Well, yeah, and she was gonna turn on the Empire and give the rebellion critical information. I was like, "Yeah, to save herself."
And
It
Vader's
was
like,
all
nah.
yeah, it was
We blew
fully
up her ship.
selfish. But yeah, she's introduced in this episode, and you could tell that like she's just like a politician who's a little too ambitious and kind of cold, and like she's not evil. She's just like law enforcement, you know.
No more over
And she thinks the rebels are terrorists. And
Yeah.
I'm sure if you worked in government during this time frame, if you agreed with the way the government operated, you would also identify these people as criminals. And this is you're the governor of this planet, like they're breaking all the laws, all the rules. So
So
it's
not only did she replace Governor Ryder Azadi,
yeah,
she was a puppet for the Empire to start with.
sure.
She
Yeah,
was
she was never
put in there.
elected.
Yeah, she was put
Yeah,
in place to rat people out and do what the Empire told her to do.
yeah, and we see how that worked out for her. So, kablooey. But yeah, R2 and C3PO are in this episode, along with RX whatever Rex, DJ Rex,
DJ
um,
Rex,
voiced
voiced by
by
Paul
the late
Rubens.
great Paul Rubens.
Yeah,
For no reason. There's no reason that these people need to be in this
Gaston.
episode except that Bail Organa pops in at the end to I think to plant the seed that we're going to see Bail again. Basically, they need to introduce
Basil
him at the
Oregano.
beginning. Yeah, you know what it is. You've heard it. What is it? It's Chekhov's gun, right? Where like they
Yeah.
introduce the gun in the first act of the play. You have to fire it in the second act. Bail Organa is the Chekhov's gun. We didn't realize it at the time, but he's letting you know, along with R2 and C3PO being there, that there is a much bigger universe at play that we're already familiar with, and you'll see
Yeah.
us again. And he says something like, "Reach out to me if you need anything." And then we slowly get other breadcrumbs like the fulcrum stuff. So um, it is it's look, Droids in Distress is not a great episode. It's
No,
okay, but
it's
it
just
introduces a
fun.
lot of things that I think are important.
Yeah, exactly. I also like Chopper picking on Ezra and in the shuttle. Like,
Yeah,
poking
the
him with a
fake
claw.
fighting is great, and I feel like it's 90% true.
Yeah, but also Chopper versus R2 was also a little
Oh,
interesting 'cause I'm
yeah.
like, "My
But
boys need to fight."
that alone is worth the price of entry because 'cause I'm
Yep,
team Chopper all the way.
yep,
I
same.
find R2 okay, but C-3PO I, like, truly despise. So,
Yeah.
like, I would push
So
him into
if
the void.
Chopper had
Yeah.
thrown 3PO down an elevator shaft,
Mhm.
I
I
don't know.
realize that for story unit like, production reasons, we cannot, but, you know,
Yep. Uh-huh.
um, right
I
into the
feel
pit.
seen.
Yeah. Alright, what did you think of Fight or Flight? I feel like this is one where you love this episode.
I do, because it's like, we've spent the last few episodes watching Zeb and Ezra just duke it out, like older brothers, younger brothers, just fighting like cats and dogs. It was crazy. Um, so this episode, Harris basically sends them on a wild goose chase to, I need melee runs. Go to the market, find some melee runs. And there are no melee runs in Lothal.
Yep.
So, but they end up actually finding some and going up against the Empire for it. And it's them learning to not only complete a mission, regardless of how insane it is and how it was essentially a wild Lothcat chase, um, but they learn to work together and they learn to have respect for each other.
It was a great bonding episode
Yeah,
for Zeb
so
and
good.
Ezra.
Just
Um
pure comedy.
So I remember when Vanessa was on, she was talking about how Melu Run fruit was hard to say, and so did Taylor. Like they both
Yeah.
specifically called out how that particular item, and I think it's also because it's so early in production. Like we're
Mhm.
talking about episode 4, and you're already being given all new names of galaxies and characters and ships, and you're saying a whole lot of nonsense that we all take very seriously. And then this pops up, and it's like a dragon fruit basically, and it's like
Yeah.
Melu Run fruit, and that there's something about that that's just really, really challenging to say, and it always makes me laugh. So,
It's one of
especially
my
as
favorite words in Star Wars. Like,
it's
if
so
I go
dumb. It's just it's just too many
that's why
letters.
I love it. It's just
Yeah.
silly. Whenever I go to Disneyland, because Disney World doesn't have this, they have the Tatooine Sunset
Mhm.
iced tea. Um, I get a Mailuan juice at Ronto Roasters with my Ronto wrap. It's
Mm.
like required eating. I could
Yeah.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm getting that Ronto wrap.
The Ronto
So
wrap is good.
it's my
Um,
favorite. So it warms my soul when I see what they went through to bring the fruit in. And also, this episode is important because they steal a Tie Fighter.
yes,
They don't crash it;
that's
they stash it. So
that is probably the most important reason for well, aside from the
I need that on a
interpersonal
shirt. Don't
connection,
crash it, stash it
stash it. Yeah.
with the Tie Fighter.
And they don't tell anyone. So I think the bonding is
Yeah.
also helped by the fact that they kept the secret together. Like Zeb and Ezra didn't really follow orders 100%.
But
And
they wanted
um,
something cool. Like, how often are you
yeah,
gonna be able to pilot
find a
a
TIE
TIE fighter?
fighter. Yeah, and you would think there'd be like a tracker on it or something. And Sabine eventually spray paints it all
Oh, and it
multicolored,
looks so
which
rad.
again going back to Chekhov's gun. So now we have Bail Organa introduced in episode 3, and this TIE
Yeah,
fighter that's just
Sherry.
going to be hanging out for no reason introduced in episode 4. Follow the breadcrumbs with us. So,
Yes,
um,
Liberty, same. Every time I see it. What was I watching? I was watching like a home improvement episode last night, and oh, Queer Eye. I was watching it, and one of the tables, they have like a whole bunch of dragon fruit put on the table in this person's house in the new season. And I'm like, wow, it's a ton of Melee runs because it looks like Melee run. So yeah.
that fruit is now part of like the
Yeah,
lexicon of
it
like
really is.
regular Star Wars fans just eating fruit.
Yes.
Um, all right, the next episode, Rise of the Old Masters. Oh boy, this is a dark moment in what is
Wow.
otherwise a pretty light first half of Rebels season 1. Um, the basic premise is that the ghost crew gets some type of it's a trap, of course, gets some type of communication saying that Master Luminara is being held prisoner in this like impenetrable prison, right?
Oh,
And they have to go rescue her. And they go and they break in. There's a lot of heists in Rebels, and this is another heist. They have to break in and either get
harebrained
someone or
schemes.
something.
Hey.
Yeah, and I will say you see the team really gel. I mean, we're only in episode 5, and the team already operates as a really good unit. Oh, there's the kitty. Mine
Hi,
jumped
kitty.
out. Oh, hello, Ahsoka.
Taste my
Um,
day.
the team feels like they've been training for this for years because everyone plays their part. Like
Right.
Hera's an excellent pilot. She gets them there. She hangs out with the ship on like the edge of the cliff with those weird flying manatee things. Sabine.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget the
Space race.
names. Yeah. Uh, the bombs and the planning and the logistics with Sabine all in place. Zeb, Kanan, everyone like follows their beats and hits their marks, and the plan executes perfectly. And then they get to the cell, and Ezra and Kanan jump in, and Master Luminara is there, but it's really a hologram form, and her bones.
Her
So
mummy.
yeah, mummified corpse of Master Luminara,
Oh, that's
R.I.P.
horrible.
Um,
Especially if you
and
grew up watching the Clone Wars and you were
yeah,
attached to Master Luminar and Barasafi. Like, many people are like, I screamed at my TV. Yeah, see?
I was
Icky.
horrified. Yeah,
Gross.
Liberty. It's a full-on horror
Ugh.
episode. And then the Grand Inquisitor has them trapped in there. He enters. He then plays all these mind games with Ezra and Kanan, and reads Kanan for filth. Let me tell you, it was like, oh, you're terrible at lightsaber fighting. I noticed the form you have. Your master must be Depa Bolaba, who was killed. He went in the emotional devastation that
Seriously,
the Grand
wrecking the
Inquisitor
house.
like yeah, laid upon poor Kanan and Ezra, basically telling him that like you're gonna get killed if you stay with these people because they're not gonna be able to protect you. So he was just like emotionally messing with them. I do think that the Grand Inquisitor like overplayed his hand and really didn't think that they'd be scrappy enough to escape. Even
Yeah.
though they were smart enough to get in and break in and get all the way
Yeah.
there. Like I was like, kill them while you have the chance. Stop toying with them. Because he was toying with them, he was overconfident, and they do
Yeah.
escape, but they're scarred for it. And then they at least find out though that this trap can't work for anyone else on a go forward. Like it's tragic what happened to Master Luminara, but it's not something that can be used on a go forward. Now I think that information either came from Fulcrum or came from Senator Gall Travis, who we have to talk about in a little bit too, because Gall Travis is another we'll say like shadow that follows season one along
Mhm.
with Fulcrum. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
will say this is probably as an individual rewatch, aside from Fire Across the Galaxy, this is my favorite episode of season one, Rise of the Old Masters. It's
it's
so
definitely one of the
heartbreaking.
darkest in the series because, like,
Yeah,
you're
it's
using a
messed up.
dead body
Yeah.
of a Jedi Master to lure Jedis to their
Yep.
death.
And
Like,
look, my many, many theories. I've said them out here already about how
freaks no shit,
Luminara
y'all.
was, possibly killed by Barasafi teaming up with the Grand Inquisitor, who would have been an escaped Jedi Temple Guard. Like, if anyone would have known where the Jedi were going, the Jedi Temple Guard, no one would have known he was becoming an Inquisitor. He could have easily, like, tracked down Luminara or Barris, broken out Barris. I think there's a story there with the Grand Inquisitor and
Yeah, I wanna see
Barasafi
that story, that'd be
potentially
cool.
capturing Luminara and tricking her. Um,
Oh, so
let's
dark.
face it, like Barasafi can blame Luminara for a lot of her problems,
Mhm.
right or wrong.
'Cause she
And
didn't
I have
care if
a
she lived or died. She was
yeah,
like, at any given point, she would have sacrificed her Padawan, and
yeah.
that just
I have a
I kinda
I have
don't
a
blame
lot
her.
of harsh things to say about Master Luminara. Did she deserve the fate she received? No. Do I think that it was a fitting end for her story wise in the universe in which we're experiencing it? Absolutely. I think it's brilliant. And I love that like it's still unknown who did it because I want it to be out there. I want to speculate, but I also eventually want some Barris Offie
I
closure.
want the answers to live up to my headcanon.
There's
No,
that. I mean,
I'm
my
not that person.
headcanon has been taking me into, the stratosphere over here. My Barris Offie stuff, which I really hope when we get to Ahsoka season 2, there'll be
Right.
something with Barris Offie. She is, I think, the loosest of loose ends with all things Ahsoka. I think we've tied
Mhm.
up a lot of like just to
Oh, yeah.
deviate to Ahsoka for a second. Um, we dealt with her trauma with Anakin and revisiting the Clone Wars and healing her relationship with Sabine. Not that we knew that was even damaged to begin with going in, but like her finding like the Ahsoka the White wisdom,
Yeah.
like I think that Ahsoka feels very well baked. There's still a lot of resolution to do with the Mortis daughter and Mortis itself, which is more of like an end of life kind of thing, I think. But Barriss Offee is probably the one outstanding thing she needs to resolve.
Absolutely. I need that loose end tied up. Um, but it also brings up a good point because there's so many ways that you can tell each character's story. Like
Mhm.
Dave leaves things fluid enough that he can revisit years
Oh, for
later.
sure.
case in point, Rebels season 5, also known as Ahsoka.
So good. Yeah,
It's the floatyverse. We're just living in it. Yeah.
it's true.
um,
Um, okay. Episode 6, Breaking Ranks. This is also an important one because Ezra meets Jaikel, played by one of your
God
favorite
did
people,
both go. Love
and
it.
you know him best from Avatar.
Yes, he is Zuko. He is Admiral Iroh in Legend of Korra. He is American Dragon Jake Long. He is Zuko. Sorry, Zuko. Rufio.
Hmm.
He's everybody. So it's so cool that he gets to dip his toes in the Star Wars pond. And as we talk about all the time, we try to get him to sign your poster, and the line just did not end
Yeah, he's
ever.
he's too popular.
Too popular.
So next time he's at a show, I'll definitely have to just wait in line and do it.
Yeah, we'll just tough it out.
That
Fine, I'm fine,
episode is
Fire
a
Island.
really good one. It shows Ezra like infiltrating, and then training, and Jaikel ends up becoming. He comes back for season 4, so he's
Yeah,
part of the Island of Misfit Toys that I always
love
talk
it.
about, who helped free Lethal in season 4.
That's the best
Yeah,
metaphor. It's really
yeah.
the best metaphor for these ragtag bunch of rebels.
All right. Out of Darkness, episode 7. This is a really good Hera and Sabine episode. So Sabine is frustrated that like she doesn't know the whole story of what's going on because like Hera is intentionally not telling everyone what Fulcrum is telling her because in the case that like they're ever interrogated by the Empire, she
Yeah.
wants plausible deniability. She doesn't want like the secrets of them being part of a larger rebel cell to get out. And so Sabine feels like Hera doesn't trust her when in fact Hera is trying to keep her safe. And I'm sure any parent in the chat like can feel that in their bones, right? If Hera is mom and Sabine is daughter, the protect versus trust thing is like a constant push and pull, I think, with
So
all parents and children.
and that doesn't go away when you get older. Like as
Yeah,
many people say that like look, Hera's in her 20s and Sabine is in her middle teens. Um, my mom right now is going through some stuff, and she keeps telling me it's none of my business. Um, but it is my business because I'm an adult and I live with her, and if anything goes sideways, I have to cover it. So it's that level of trust and like how much you want people to know versus the need to know. And I think they struggle with trust big time in this
yeah,
episode because
yeah,
Sabine
and they
doesn't trust
address it head
anybody.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, and Sabine doesn't trust anybody, as we learn much later in Trials of the Dark Saber. And um, yeah, and Sarah brings up a good point. It's also military leadership. If the orders
hmm
are to keep silent, you do it.
which
It's on a need to know basis.
the Empire enforced that, and we all saw Sabine is defected from the Empire because she didn't believe in what she was doing. So Sabine has a very different moral compass, especially
And
being a
yes.
Mandalorian.
And she
So
wants to know that she can believe in what she's doing. Like,
yeah,
what am I doing this for? I can't just blindly follow orders anymore.
of
Like,
course
I
not.
need a purpose.
Yeah, we
So
saw where it got her last time.
this is a key Sabine and Hera episode, and
Yeah.
it's crucial to their relationship because I
And
feel
there's
like
one
they slide
small.
together.
Oh yeah, no, I think this is the best Sabine Hera content of season 1. I
Mhm.
also think there's a small thing in there where we meet the Phrynox, which are those little shadow beasts. Those come up later for Ezra. Again, breadcrumbs. Um, all right, Empire Day and Gathering Forces is a two-parter. Those are episodes 8 and 9. This is where we start learning the truth about Ezra's parents. So there's a Rhodian named Sibo who has like the headgear that Lobot has. So he's like programmed into like the data banks of
Oh,
the Imperials.
poor
And on
Sibo.
Empire Day, like the rebels cause their normal chaos, and they track down Sibo, who knows what happened to Ezra's parents, that they were captured, and it is just heartbreaking to hear the story about like how Ezra's an orphan because his parents like stood up to the Empire and were basically disappeared because of it.
So at this point, he doesn't know that they're dead for
Yeah,
sure. Like Ryder fills that in later, as we saw on
yeah,
last week's episode during the watch along. But Empire Day is really important because we learned that it's Ezra's birthday
yes,
and
that's right.
that he's
Born
been
on Empire Day.
alone since he was 7, and he's 14, 15 now, and
Yeah,
it's
he's
crucial
in. Yeah,
to his growth as a character too because you see like like it means more than just it. It's like the worst thing in the world happening on your birthday,
oh, for sure.
and you
But
just don't want to
he's.
celebrate it. You've lost everything. It's just it doesn't feel good. So
Yeah, Mike, you're right. He's a couple days apart from Luke and Leia in terms of age. So if we're
yeah,
thinking like, what would Luke and Leia be like, as early teens, like he's actually a lot like Leia, and he meets Leia next season, which is very cool.
Love that
Um,
episode.
that two-parter is great. We've watched it together on this. We've watched all these episodes, so you can go back and do any of the watch-alongs with us. Um, but yeah, I think the other thing in Gathering Forces is they actually return to the asteroid where the Frydox are from the prior episode Out of Darkness. So
Yeah,
it's PM 1203, and the Grand Inquisitor is like chasing down Kanan and Ezra. He like tracks their ship, the Phantom, and they have to
yeah,
fly out there. And Ezra connects with the Phrynox to the dark side.
yeah. That was probably one of the scariest Ezra moments that I've ever seen because you see him not only being afraid to like lose everything and just like lashing out in his
Mm,
untrained rage at the Inquisitor, like you're not going to take my master, you're not going to take my new family. I'm gonna and you just see the beginnings
yeah,
of his
the
connection with
fear.
animals.
Yes, it's weird. It's like a weird intersection of like fear and the dark side, and yet at the same time, his forced connection to animals, which we start seeing throughout the season. Yeah, this is a real challenge for Ezra because it really brings up all of the sadness and the pain and how easy it is to slide into the dark side.
And
Um,
how he said, "Oh, Kanan, I felt cold." Like,
yeah.
oh, broke my heart.
And it's funny because the following episode, and this shows the good storytelling that happens next, is where Ezra has to then confront this exact thing. It's Path of the Jedi, where Kanan and Ezra are back on Lothal after they narrowly escape the Grand Inquisitor and have their issues with him tapping into the dark side. They go to the Jedi Temple, where Ezra has to confront all of this. His big fear, because remember, he's driven by fear in season one. Like
Yeah,
season one, Ezra is all about fear. It's less about anger. It's less about hatred. It is all fear driven. He's afraid of everyone around him dying because he's not good at using the force. He's actually terrible at it. Like his training is going very poorly. And Kanan like feels bad about it too because Kanan's not a particularly good teacher. He wasn't
yeah.
like he never
Kanan
trained
was
at
a
the temple
Padawan.
fully.
Like he didn't finish
Exactly.
his training, so he's got a
Yeah.
lot of doubt and a lot of fear in himself too.
Yep. Exactly.
And
Yeah. There's a lot of doubt, a lot of fear.
oh,
All
it's dark.
um it's really it's like sad. They're both at low points too, because of course this is during that endless in between. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. The Clone Wars ended. The Jedi Order fell, and now we're in that weird time period where the Empire reigns until we get
Yeah,
to like
survivor's
proper
guilt, Mike.
rebellion.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and a ton of guilt. Um, so yeah, they both go into the temple for the same thing basically. They both need clarity from Yoda or the Force or whoever on what they need to do next and how they overcome their fears. And Ezra, I will say, like, does a really great job, like, dealing with like the ghost of the Grand Inquisitor and whatever else, and finds himself, gets his Kyber crystal, builds his lightsaber, which is 10 episodes into the series, man. He's been using this slingshot for the first 10 episodes. He finally gets his the staple gun lightsaber that he constructs himself with the Kyber crystal.
Yeah.
And Kanan equally gets a good shout out to, like, he hears the voice of Yoda and things start coming into that, like the picture for him where Yoda's like, you can do this, you have to train him, you will
Yeah.
train him.
Yes, exactly, Mike. It's the first hint of something greater, especially in the
Hmm.
temple.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a connectivity through the Force,
yeah.
certainly in the temples, to connect to everything.
And we got Frank Oz back. Like that's huge.
Yeah, that was surprising because
So
Tom
good.
Kane's great in that role. I didn't think they would need to bring back Frank Oz, but he was great.
Yeah.
So, as
Absolutely
I
love
will
it.
say, Yoda looked weird, but I think the Rebels model doesn't work for Yoda. Um,
Yeah.
all
Character
right.
models are different as we've seen with Bo-Katan
I think it's
and
so funny
Rebels,
that
Clone Wars. Yeah.
after like Path of the Jedi, which is such a serious episode, Idiots Array, which is episode 11, is so silly. Like Idiots Array might be the dumbest episode of season 1 in the best way.
It's so
Lando
goofy.
It's so goofy. Lando Calrissian is back, played by Billy D. Williams, who's great, by the
Yeah.
way. He sounds
OG.
exactly the same. We've got a great game of Sabacc where Zeb loses Chopper to Lando. We have puffer pigs who are going to be used for mining. So we hear about the mining operation starting up on Bespin. We get a great little like. So this is prequel, not prequel, but like before A New
Yeah.
Hope and Empire Strikes Back kind of Lando. And it's the kind of thing where it's just silly. I mean, Hera beats the crap out of Az Morgan with like a serving tray.
Oh,
Like
she
the
played that
puffer
hand
pigs are,
so good. So
yeah,
good. Don't mess with Hera. And
exactly. She'll beat all of your asses.
I
Like
know
it is,
Kaden wasn't happy, but she had a plan. My girl had,
yeah. Oh, yeah, always. I mean, Hera's always going to get you out of a jam,
but
and
she will kill you
yeah.
for
And look,
selling her out.
The puffer pigs were hysterical. I think this is the funniest episode of season 1, hands down.
Yeah. Oh my god, especially like when the the puffer pigs are afraid of Zeb's face.
Mhm. This one feels out of sync. Like, I think that this
Yeah.
one I think that Billy D was late with recording, like, it belongs before Gathering Forces, like,
Right.
this
I
thing
felt like
or
it's
before
kind of
Empire Day,
yeah,
like yeah,
definitely like after the mail run episode, but you know,
yeah.
and in the first maybe 6 or 7.
That's where it feels like it should. I bet you from a production perspective, they wanted it earlier, and something must have happened because, like, we're on a really dark path from Empire Day all the way through the finale, and this
Yeah.
feels like a part 1, like a part 1 of season 1 situation.
Right.
Um Okay, so then after Idiot's Ray, we go back to the darkness with Vision of Hope. Don't let the title fool you. Senator Gall Travis, who we've mentioned a couple times now, he's one of those senators that actually speaks out against the Empire on the Secure Channel. He's played by Brent Spiner, who we met last year at Rhode Island.
Yeah, he's so
Fantastic, just a couple
funny.
months ago.
So
Turns
funny.
out he's actually a bad guy all along, and he's been tricking people and trapping people and killing people.
So using the
Um,
secure channel to make the
uh-huh.
Empire seek out all those rebels that he lures out of hiding
Yep,
to meet up on all these planets and just despicable human being, but it's okay. Hera's got it under control. But this
as
is
always.
another example of actually I think it might be the first example of Ezra having force visions.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
this that first episode, and yeah, because he's unclear about what he's seeing with Senator Travis.
And
So
Hera and
yeah,
the gun and everything. So
so
it's
Hera knows what's up, tricks Senator Travis, and then knocks him unconscious. I would have killed him. I mean, that's me though. So
the pistol
you have
whip was satisfying
yeah,
though.
yeah, and it's a kid show.
So we lost
Blaster whip,
the
sorry.
Instagram stream because they only allow us to go for an hour.
Oh, that's fine.
Yep.
I forgot to mention that before we were getting towards the end of that hour to try to let our audience know, unfortunately. But hopefully they're joining again
Yeah.
now on the Facebook or YouTube
Hmm.
stream or on the recorded one after the fact. So just wanted to point that out. Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Oh, no
No
worries. Yeah.
worries. Yeah, I did see it just disconnect. No worries. Yeah, we're still on Facebook, still on YouTube, and we actually only have a couple minutes left because we're already up to after Vision of Hope. We have essentially a three-parter. It's Call to Action, Rebel Resolve, and Fire Across the Galaxy. The final 3 episodes of the season. Call to Action, I think, is really the turning point of season 1 because this is the arrival of Grand Moff Tarkin, and this is where things really start to get serious. He arrives, which one is the lead villain of A New Hope. Like, it's not Darth Vader. He's the lead villain of A New Hope. He's maybe the scariest actual Imperial in the entire Empire, like the Imperial soldier. I mean, so he's a Grand Moff. He reports directly into Palpatine. They're not gonna give us Vader in season 1, so they bring in him. I think he's scary as hell. Steven Stanton does an excellent voice acting. It's like a master class in both finding your reference but making it your own. He's really
Yeah.
scary. He has the Grand Inquisitor kill those 2 bumbling idiot Imperials. What is it? Commander Oresco and Taskmaster Grint. So we're eliminating the comic relief morons from season 1, the first half. They're literally beheaded in front of him. So
Yeah, I was
in
like,
front of Minister Tua.
"Holy crap."
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So it's
that's
crazy.
when Minister Tua realizes that she's in
She's in
over her
over her
head.
head. Yeah,
No pun intended.
without a doubt. Yeah, and Kanan's captured by the Inquisitor. So then in episode 14, Rebel Resolve, this is where the TIE fighter comes back because the plan starts coming into place.
Yes, we get to see Sabine's craft work on this. Um, it's it's pretty awesome that she can incorporate her own bombs with this and start blowing up all the other facilities on Lethal and just raising hell for them.
Oh, it's amazing. Um, yeah, in the Rebel Resolve episode, Kanan, as we mentioned, Kanan was kidnapped, so he gets tortured by the Inquisitor,
Yeah, that was
and
heartbreaking.
Callus and Tarkin, and the Inquisitor gets into his brain. He does the thing that Kylo Ren does, and he's like, "Oh, I can see what Deba Balaba said to you is her last word. It's run." So it's like, man, he's like twisting the knife, and then
And
the
you
rest
can
of the
see Kanan
crew.
struggling with that. Like it's
Oh, of
absolutely
course.
horrible.
Um, so while that's happening, Ezra convinces Hera that they need to go after him. So they bring the plan together. So we're going to gather the spray painted Tie Fighter that's been in hiding, and whatever other shenanigans they're going to sneak out toward the ship. And that brings us to Fire Across the Galaxy, which I always remind people the quote, like Fire Across the Galaxy, the Clone Wars spread, right? Like that's like one of the lines from the Clone Wars micro series, which is why you might recognize the reference there. And this finale does a ton of heavy lifting. It has to close out the whole story for season 1, which is really a conflict on Lothal. We have to rescue Kanan, which they do. Kanan defeats the Grand Inquisitor in battle after he thinks the Grand Inquisitor killed Ezra, which was one of Kanan's big concerns. But Kanan taps into his anger, actually, and focuses and beats the crap out of the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor is hanging on by a ledge, like very Lion King, but then lets go.
Yeah,
He's
because death is nowhere near as bad as what's waiting if he lives. Because
yeah.
Kanan offers him his hand. Like,
Oh yeah, which is stupid too. I would have chopped it right off. But the Grand Inquisitor again, we're talking production for Disney, and the
yeah.
good guys have to remain good guys. That's why I'm not allowed to help write the shows. Um, so
Yeah.
Kanan and the rest of the crew escape with the help from actually Chopper saves the day. He goes to get
Yeah.
Bail Organa. So Bail
Basil
Organa comes back
Oregano.
around. Yep. So he
Sorry, I
really
like that.
saves the day with a whole
Yeah.
fleet of ships
Yeah.
that rescue them from Mustafar. And on that ship, we finally get the reveal of Fulcrum, which is Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka
Hence,
lives.
yep, hence the Ahsoka Lives hashtag and why we're talking about it today.
Yeah.
And so that's a must watch. Like for me, like Fire Across the Galaxy, you have to watch Spark of Rebellion. You obviously have to watch Fire Across the Galaxy. There's a lot of great stuff in season 1 though, and I hope that each episode we went through, we gave you like one thing to hook on to of like
Yeah.
why this is, a reason to tune in to each episode. But Fire Across the Galaxy is like the definitive season 1 episode.
Oh yeah. It's
yeah.
the build, the slow build, the hook that just
Mhm.
reels you, and you're like, she's still alive. Like it's just because the last you see of her, she's leaving the Jedi Temple.
Yeah. We finally get some closure, and then she's a part of the story for season 2 in a big way, which is great.
Such a good season.
Yeah, so that's season 1. I hope everyone
Yeah.
loves season 1 of Rebels as much as we did over here on the channel. So, and
Very
yeah,
much
we'll
fun.
talk season 2 a later time. What do we have going on next week? Oh, next week's a watch along.
Yeah. So let's see. Next week we are doing episode 14, Legend of the Lasat. So we're gonna go back in and help Zeb and some long thought to be dead Lasats find a new home.
It's going to be a good one. We've talked about that one on the channel quite a bit, but we haven't watched it yet, obviously.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fantastic watch along.
Excited.
So that's next week. Tomorrow, make sure you join us on the network for Happy Hour. Wednesday, we have the Nerf Herder Council, where they're going to be doing an episode 4 retrospective. Thursday, this is really the big news.
Yes.
I'm so ready for this. Are you ready for Brendan?
Brendan Wayne, you guys, one of the Mando boys himself, will be joining the boys, Spencer, Jeff, Dave, Skip, and John on the Ahsoka Revisited Watch Along Part 5. So I'm very excited. Make sure you guys jump in the chat and watch along with the guys. Brendan is super nice, and he's got a lot of really fun stories, not only about like his time on The Mandalorian, but like I feel like his role has just gotten bigger and bigger within the fandom and on the
He
show.
has his own title card now with
Yeah,
Lateef. I
big
remember when
deal.
they were like listed in the credits as like stunt guys, and now they have title cards. So Disney has really recognized him and Lateef as owning
Huge.
the character of Mando. They're going to official events now. This is a good thing.
Yeah, and Lauren Mary Kim was at the Discord lightsaber meetup last night, and Ashley and her hung out, and Ashley acknowledged her. And it's really cool to see because Lauren Mary Kim, for those who don't know, is the motion capture actress for Ahsoka in season 7 of Clone Wars,
Which is one of the best lightsaber fights in all of Star Wars.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
fantastic.
yeah.
So that's Thursday. Do not miss Thursday, you guys. If you can tune into one thing this week, I don't want to say pick certain shows over others. Obviously, you were already here, but Thursday, make some time for the watch along. It's going to be fantastic. We also have Jedi Archives happening on Sunday. They're doing Shadows of Starlight #3. And then one other plug we wanted to make sure you guys knew about. There are only 25 tickets left for the family vacation, the second bus. So we are
6 months
moving along.
left, you guys.
Yeah, we're 6 months away.
Yeah.
And we're going to be announcing more autograph signers very soon. We have a whole plan for, what's coming. Obviously, we're taking over all of California. It's going to be a blast. We're starting in the south, making our way north.
And you get this
Yeah, there's
exclusive shirt when you buy your trip package, so
yeah,
make sure you get on it. Also, they have a racer that's available for sale right now. So if you want to be one of the crew and wear this swanky family vacay, racer shirt, regardless if you're going on the vacation or not, they're available. Make sure you just check it out in the group. The
I
guys
got
will
to get me
post the
one of
link
those.
later. Yeah, I know it's so cool. I'm like, it's got the Golden Gate Bridge on it. I kind of need it.
And I just love the flying car for like vacation style. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's everything for this week. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. And we'll see you hopefully on Thursday for
Thanks,
the
guys.
big watch along with Brendan.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. May the force be with you.
Night, guys.
Good night.